So today we're going to cover a couple of the tools that you guys need to know about in order to get your MaxxTracks set up to go live after we convert your data from MotorTraxx. Okay? We do have a few things that we want you to look into, though, before you do the data conversion. But let's look at this real quick, the Getting Started Guide. So I'm going to go here real quick and grab this Getting Started Guide for MotorTraxx users. So what this is, guys, hopefully you guys all have a copy of this, and you actually should have the Getting Started Guide on your desktop as well. We typically install it when we set you up on a practice version. So obviously you guys have gone through most of these things. We're all the way to the point of sending in your go live order form. And we have in here the setup checklist. So if we just click on this icon, here is our setup checklist. And I would recommend you print this one page out and literally check them off. Now the things with the stars, these are the items that need to be completed before you write that first repair order. Now remember, when your data converts from MotorTraxx, because we didn't have repeat for service, we don't convert the parts and the labor on the open repair orders. You guys will have to rekey those in under a reason for service. That's why they didn't come over in the conversion, because it didn't know what structure they needed to come in under. So even before you start recreating those repair orders that were open in MotorTraxx on your first service counter, we want to actually do these stars first. Okay? So, and we will be going through these with you. Randy, you're going to be a little bit different. You're going to be a little bit on your own. But your company information, Kaylin will help you with the setup. You'll want to run through these repair orders and parts invoice setup as well, which we've done before, and we do have a video for on our website. And the workstation, this is actually the default, it's fine. What's very, very important, though, guys, on the setup checklist is, of course, the sales tax rate. And for you, I'll be doing this with you, Harvey. Kaylin will be doing this with you, Randy. So not only do we need to set up your sales tax rate, as soon as we do that, it's going to give us a warning. It's going to say, hey, this sales tax rate is not applied to open ROs, anything that converts over. And you'll see down here, we need to reselect the sales tax setting in each one of those repair orders under the miscellaneous link. I'll show you that here in just a moment. The other thing you'll want to set up is make sure your employees are in there with their initials. So then when you are re-entering the parts and labor on those open ROs that come over, you can select your technician assigned to each labor. And then, these other things you guys can kind of do on your own whenever you have time. You can actually start writing service and recreating those open ROs that, like I said, don't come over in the conversion after you do the ones with the stars. Now we also, for accounting users, which is both of you guys on the call, we also have the fiscal year start date, which for you, don't worry, it defaults to January 1st, and that's when you're actually converting. Default account postings, 80 to 90% of shops leave all these on the default as well, unless you guys wanted to use some custom product codes. That's what that's about. You would want to correct those. Default account posting and product codes, about the same thing. Now this is what I was just talking to you guys both about before we started recording the webinar. We want to enter your beginning general ledger balance for inventory. So let me remind you of something real quick. Let me minimize this and bring back up MaxxTracks. When your data converts over from MotorTraxx to MaxxTracks, remember, all of your open ARs, any customer that owes you money, and all of your open APs, anybody that you owe money to, any of your vendors, all of that stuff will be listed. Each customer will have that in their account under their balance due. Okay, if they had one here, they'd be under their balance due with one single entry for every single customer that owes you money when you go to convert. Same for accounts payable. For anybody that you owe money to, all of these here, these will all be entered under each vendor. And remember, I said it'll be one amount. It'll be one single invoice. Even if I owed CarQuest, 100 invoices, when it converts, it comes over as a single outstanding balance, single invoice. Now, that's the detail. All of our AR detail, all of our AP detail. So when your data converts, you only have 3 little things on your trial balance. So I'm going to click on Accounting, Chart of Account, Print Trial Balance. Now, a normal trial balance, like you guys have in MotorTraxx, have all this information. But when you do your data conversion, and you might remember this from your practice, it has 3 entries. It has your 12,000 account receivables. Get my little pointer turned on. Okay, it'll have 12,000 account receivables. You'll have one amount there. You'll have 20,000 account payables. You'll have one amount there. And the difference between those two are going to be the 19,900 account, system balancing account. So those 3 things come over in the conversion. Those you don't have to set up. Everything else, though, guys, remember, everything else you have to set up on your general ledger manually. And one of those is the 13,000 inventory parts. So this is very important. That's why I'm going to bring this up right at the very beginning so you can reference this in the video later. So what happens is that, you know what, hold on just a second, guys. Oh, she hung up. Sorry, that was Rosemary, actually. She's probably trying to join in. So what we're going to do, guys, is once you first convert and you go through the little starred items, before you start actually putting, remember, parts in labor here on your RO, before you start putting these parts on here, very important, we run this report. It's called, under Report, the brown clipboard, we click on Inventory on the left. We click on Inventory Valuation. Click Run Report. Let it just go to this summary, and everything's selected, all parts, all manufacturers, all categories, groups, everything. Just click OK. So we'll give this a minute, and you're going to get this valuation report. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to take the, in this example, the $8,500 minus the 66. So we're going to get our resulting, what, 8,400, whatever it is. That is our beginning inventory valuation. That's what we're going to set as our beginning balance for the 13,000 account. So in your case, Harvey, if you haven't really been, tracking too much inventory, or you haven't been right on top of it all, you could have a number up here to be 8,000, and your red, which is your credit, your negative quantity on your parts list, we could say $5,000. And that's okay. That's okay. All we want to do is we want this number that we're going to put on our general ledger to match our actual parts list. You guys following me there? Does that make sense?
Yep, makes sense.
So we're going to get the number from MaxxTracx.
Let's run through that again. As soon as you do your conversion on Saturday, Andy, you're going to start over. We're going to click on Report, brown clipboard, click on Inventory under Category, and run this Inventory Valuation. And just click Run Report. And what we're doing is this summary report. We don't care about the details. Summary of all, and all. Click OK. And this could be a while if you guys have a lot of inventory. I'm on a demo, of course, so I don't have nearly as much. So you guys might take a moment. And once this whole progress comes through, you're going to have a black number and a red number. Again, the red number is going to represent any negatives, any minus signs that you have on your parts list, which is just fine. We'll clean that up later. No big deal. So you're going to take 8524.86 minus 66. Let me grab my calculator, my old funky calculator. So 8524.86 minus 6671, and that's 8458.15. Okay, so we're going to close out of here. We're going to go to Setups above the red phone and click on Accounting and Payroll. Okay, so Setups, accounting and payroll, and on the left, this is a beginning general ledger balance. Now what's really important, guys, and we're going to be talking about a lot of these general ledger beginning balances the first or second week of January, maybe even the third week of January, because we can backdate these. The reason why I'm doing this inventory one right away is because we know exactly how much your inventory is in MaxxTracks because we haven't added in any more parts, we haven't taken out any parts. This is our actual beginning inventory balance right after the conversion. So in your case, Harvey, you're going to date this 12/30. In your case, you're going to date this 12/31, Randy. You're going to enter that date in here. Now, it won't let you enter a future date. It will only let you enter the current date or earlier. So I'll just say current date. Click Next, and then type in 13,000 inventory parts. And what you're going to do is, this will say 0 on your system. This is just my demo. This will say you're 0. This is where you're going to type in that 8458.15. And then it's done. That's your starting number of your actual inventory valuation. And then from there, you guys are going to be buying parts, selling parts, doing inventory or physical inventory worksheets, which are going to adjust parts. So that is just really important. I want to make sure you guys were real clear on how to do this. Any questions on that first setup process?
No.
Okay, good, good. If you want me to stop and run through any of these again, feel free. Okay, guys, so we'll close out of there. Let's go back to the checklist. So you can see that everything else doesn't really have a star. And we'll assist you with, setting up your bank account balances. Again, these you don't have to worry about because these came over in your data conversion. If you want detail under accounts receivable, okay, so it's one thing we had talked about before. If you have a particular customer, maybe they owe you, and they're out 120 days, and they owe you 10 different invoices, and you want to send them a statement. If you send an AR statement after your data conversion, just as it is, it's going to show everybody current, and it's only going to show them owing you one invoice, and that is your beginning balance. So if you guys are going to want to have detail, we just credit the outstanding balance and re-enter in each outstanding balance, each outstanding invoice. So it's the actual date. We'll say like maybe October 11th, 2011, put the RO number, and then just post it to the 19900 account, the system balancing account. That's if you want detail. But again, we'll cover that, guys, if you need assistance the following week. So I don't want to go into too much more detail on this checklist. Of course, we do have a lot of training videos for this stuff. Do you guys have any questions on this list?
No, not at this point.
Okay, and guys, remember, let's run down to the, let's see, converted data. I'm sure you guys have run through this many, many times, but this is what converts and what doesn't convert. Remember that you need to, again, select your local sales tax rate on each open repair order, even after you set up that sales tax rate. Also remember, pardon me?
How do you set that up? What's it under?
You open up each RO that comes over in your conversion, each and every one.
Yeah.
I'm going to get rid of this stuff really quick. It keeps popping up. Okay. Each and every one, we click on the miscellaneous link on the left.
Okay.
It will have in here automatically from the data conversion DEF. Okay. So when you actually set up your sales tax rate, you're going to actually want to change it in your case to MI sales tax. For you, Harvey, you'll put CA sales tax. And then you'll click select and select that from the list, like this GA sales tax, for example, for Georgia. And once that changes, then that's all you have to do, and it will automatically change the tax in the lower corner. Now, these are all going to say 0. Why? Because we don't have any parts on labor on here. But we need to make sure we change the sales tax so that when you guys do re-enter the parts and labor on here, it's going to be calculating the correct sales tax. You know, my preference, guys, when I'm working with folks converting from MotorTraxx is, let me get this list back up. I actually like you guys to print out all your open repair orders and parts invoices on plain, let's say on plain paper. Or, you know, if you want to like cruise, you know, burn through your invoices since you won't use them anymore, very exciting, you can do that. But I print these all out right before your data conversion because then it's so much easier than to just jump into MaxTracks and duplicate them. And then I just, you know, write on it entered and just fill them in the stack. Because I have some shops that get it down to like 5 or 10 open repair orders on the service counter. But Rosemary, for example, they have about 150. They're going to have, at the end of the year, about 150 open repair orders that they're going to have to recreate in MaxTracks. That's just the way they run their business. So it's easiest, I think, just to get a nice fresh stack for the conversion purposes only. You don't see them all in one pile. Then you guys can just sit and re-enter them all in, get them down to exactly the right dollar amount, supply charges, hazardous fees, get it all dialed in. And if you have problems, you know, give us a call. We can always help you run through one or two if you can't get the amount exactly right, or just don't worry about it. We also like you to print out your income and expense statement if you're using the accounting. In your case, Harvey, I don't know if, you know, if this matters for you. You might want to print it out anyway. It might be handy for reference. Income statement and balance sheet. And very important, print out 2 copies of this for me. Your general ledger trial balance. Even if this is wrong, even if we are going to recreate your trial balance kind of fresh, this is a great opportunity to get a clean break and make sure our trial balance is correct from the get-go. Still print it out. The reason why I always say print out too is we're going to make notes all over them and work together to get it all, you know, dialed in exactly the way you want. But sometimes you want actual fresh copy to be able to reference. Now, in MaxTracks, we can select print a trial balance by date. In MotorTraxx, we do not have that opportunity. So if you make changes to MotorTraxx after the fact, after your data conversion, you will change your trial balance permanently, which is fine. That's what is supposed to happen. But you won't have, what did your trial balance say at the very moment that we converted your data? That's why it's so important to have a printout kind of stashed handy of what was that trial balance when we converted your data. Because all the data comes over in the data conversion, but we want to know, what did MotorTraxx think was your trial balance at that time? It's just a handy reference. And like I said, this is a little bit of a sausage making process. It's a little bit not pretty in the beginning, but we work with you to get it all set up. But it's a good reference. It's definitely a good reference for you guys to have later on. Any questions on this, guys?
No, not at this point.
Okay. I would not worry about your AR report or your AP report, frankly. If you're, everybody will always have a copy of their MotorTraxx handy. I know some people are getting all new hardware. Like I have a shop actually on 31st. While we're converting their data, their IT guy is going to come in and swap out 6 computers with all Windows 7 machines. Now, we all know that MotorTraxx does not run on Windows 7, so they are keeping one separate computer, not even going to be on the network actually, one separate computer with their MotorTraxx data on it. And they're going to use that as reference. Now, the reason why we had talked about that is a huge deal that does, you know, to me the biggest deal of what converts and what does not convert. Let's find out what it is on my converted data list. The parts purchase history does not convert. Remember, parts purchase history. So when you buy a part from Napa, if you bought a water pump from Napa last July and you have a warranty on it in January, you can't go into MaxTracks and say, hey, where did I buy that water pump from? What date and what vendor invoice number was that on? You'd still have to jump back to MotorTraxx. So that's really the #1 thing that most people reference MotorTraxx for. And of course, financial data, because none of the financial sales history comes over in the conversion. But other than that, guys, pretty much everything else converts. Now, I don't know if this applies to many of you guys on the call. I know it did for Rosemary, so I'm going to reference it because we're recording the webinar. None of the parts invoices on the parts counter. Now, these are customer parts invoices on the parts counter convert over from MotorTraxx. Remember the small slips, they look like the statement paper, the small parts invoices. Do either of you guys use the parts counter in MotorTraxx at this time?
No, not at all.
Okay. Some folks never even touch it. Some folks didn't even know it was in there. But some people, if they sell just a gallon of antifreeze or a quart of oil or just maybe a battery over the counter, they would use just a parts invoice in MotorTraxx. We don't convert those. Some reason when they come over in the conversion, they lock up. They lock up, and if there's any parts on it, it actually locks the part record too. So I do ask you guys, if you have any parts invoices, I know you don't, are you, but if anybody else has any parts invoices on the parts counter, we actually have you print those out in MotorTraxx and then delete them in MotorTraxx before you convert your data, just in case. We actually have the ability to not select it in the conversion, but if they accidentally come over, like I said, it locks it up, the part record. I don't know why. We just can't get it unstuck. So this is important, not as important for you, Harvey, since you're not full accounting, but for you, Randy, very important. You definitely want to close your daily book, print your open repair orders, parts invoices. If you have any end-of-year stuff, go ahead and do it now. If not, that's okay too. But again, we want to print the financial reports before your data conversion starts. Okay, so that's a little bit of that. What was that?
I imagine we want to do a backup as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do a backup. I do like this real fine line of demarcation for me, again, because I'm really picky about my financials. You know, I like this line of demarcation that says that everything up to that very point where one of our tech support people grab your converted data, grab your latest and greatest MotorTraxx to reconvert go live. I like to have a very nice referenceable financial snapshot. So I get a backup, I print out your trial balance, you guys have already closed your daily book, and so we're going to say from that point forward, so in your case, Harvey, December 30th, in your case, Randy, December 31st, it gives us a clean date to say, I'm setting up all my beginning balances as of the date of my conversion. And this is like at the end of all the business that we were going to do in MotorTraxx. That's my my clear line. And that gives me just a really good clean spot to say, hey, in February, I can go back and date beginning balances, maybe for, I don't know, loans that I had, or maybe I want to get all my assets listed on my balance sheet. Maybe I don't have all of my vehicles, company vehicles and equipment listed on my balance sheet. Maybe I've got 2 loans on there that I don't have on my balance sheet. You see, if we have a real clear line of demarcation, we can say, well, make sure you date all those beginning balances for all those general ledger entries this same date, December 30th, or in your case, December 31st, Randy. It just gives us a clean line. And then we start our business, our new business, writing all the service in MaxTracks as of the new year, January 1st, or in this case, January 2nd, Monday. I'm kind of picky that way, and I think a lot of other people don't quite agree with me in the company that, you don't really have to have that line of demarcation. It makes it easy for me as a user, because I've been on your side of the phone for many, many years, to reconcile my bank statements, to reconcile my vendor statements, all my parts bills, to just a lot of things. So that's why I always like a clean break at the end of a month, or in this case, the end of a year, even better, end of a fiscal year, to be able to say, okay, so from this day forward, this is all new business, and everything prior is 2011 business. I don't even have to think about that really in MaxxTracks. That's kind of why I kind of go to this extent of getting a real clear line of demarcation. Now, one other thing, guys, I wanted to talk about making sure you having for cleanup before you go live. And I might have talked to some of you guys individually about this, maybe not, but let's review it. We have a document. I'm going to click on Help, User Manuals and Training Videos to jump out to our website. And we have on our website, under the Training tab, Training Manuals, something called Cleaning Up Open Invoices in MotorTraxx. Now this is a one-page PDF, one-page document. You might want to print it out. I don't know if you guys have seen this before. And what happens is that over time in MaxxTracks, we get data corruption. Got a lot of this in the South, because in the South they have so many lightning storms and that kind of thing. I just find a lot more data corruption down there. What happens is that MotorTraxx will close out an RO on the schedule, right? But in the background, it's still open. And so what happens in the background, in the data conversion, there's all these so-called open ROs that might have been closed literally 10, 15 years ago that come over in your converted data. Now, the only place it affects you is in one area, but it kind of is critical because this information will convert and get stuck. It'll get stuck in MaxxTracks. So let me show you. When you go to do a restock parts ticket, which you do all day long, and we input a received vendor invoice, and we select it, and we click part from part list, and we add something. This is going to go on our restock parts ticket. You have the ability to assign it to stock. This should be not new for anybody on the call. Or we can reserve it for a particular RO. Now what happens, I found this out the hard way, that from MotorTraxx converted data, if you click the select button, I have had shops that have gotten just pages, literally pages of ROs that MotorTraxx in the data corruption thought were still open. So I have ROs here that are dated 1997, 1998, 2001, and you have to scroll through those because, of course, they're in date order. So you have them that you have to scroll through to get to one that you actually want to select for this actual restock part ticket. So we want to get those cleared out before we reconvert your data to go live. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Rex wrote up this beautiful write-up about it. Where's that? Here it is. And what essentially says, the issue is that you may have open invoices not on the schedule, but permanently appear on that list of repair orders to assign to a purchase, those parts to. Okay, so what you're going to do, first thing you're going to do is get a list. So you're going to go follow these steps in MotorTraxx and print out an open invoice report. So right here, open invoice report. Print out the report. Okay? And then just take that report and match it up to everything that's on your actual schedule. So cross out the ones that are real, that are actually really on your schedule, and then you're going to have some remaining invoices to work on. So just read through the rest of it. What you're really going to do is just find out, are they real invoices or just estimates? Maybe they just needed to be voided. But then if they really were posted, you want that in history. Well, first of all, we want it off this list, but we also want that repair history. We don't want to just delete it. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to post it into a prior period, actually the date that it was actually closed, which may be 1997. So you'll just change your computer date in the lower right corner of a computer on a workstation, for example, and then post it. As long as it's in a previous period, it won't affect your financials. Okay? Now, I learned this one also the hard way. If it was posted on account, let's say 2004, you had a bill, it was posted to AR. If you posted to AR, even if you date it, let's say 12/21/2004, it will still show up as a current AR. So don't do that. So if you guys have anything that says posted accounts receivable and you know they don't owe you the money, I mean that was from 7 years ago, just mark it paid with cash, okay? Because if you post an AR, it will show up as a current receivable. You guys follow me on that one?
Yeah, there's no reason we could do that today if we wanted, couldn't we?
Yes, you could. Yeah, and you might want to just run this report maybe even next week. Unless you're, if you're not having any really bad weather between now and next week, I wouldn't anticipate any data corruption. But I probably would run this open invoice report, right, the day or two before we convert, just to make sure you don't have any last-minute data corruption. That would throw an RO in there. I mean, it's not a big deal, but if there's a ton of them, and I have had shops with 150 of those, it is a bear to scroll through that all the time to be able to use that cool feature, reserving a part for a particular RO. So with that being said, anything that's posted to AR, don't repost to AR, even if you change your date. If you were to delete those instead of actually posting them, and there were parts on there, you would put those parts back on your parts list in stock. So that may play around with your physical inventory a little bit. So that's probably another reason why you want to do this. I'll just tell you guys right now, run through this. If you need any assistance, contact tech support. They'll connect up with you and walk you through a couple of these, okay? So that's what we're here for. Just make sure you get this done beforehand. And again, this is under, click on help, go out to our user manual training videos, and it's right there on that page. Whoops. Right here. Cleaning up open invoices and MotorTraxx procedure is the procedure for it. Pretty straightforward. So any questions, guys, on getting ready, your preparation for this?
Nope.
Okay, good. So let's look at a couple things real quick. Any last-minute things I want to cover with you guys? We talked about sales tax. That's our real critical one. Thinking we're doing pretty good. Thinking we're doing, really good on this. Yeah, I think we're good, guys. I can't really think of anything else that we're not going to be doing with you as far as setups. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up if you guys don't have any other questions about preparation. So also, once we get you set up, make sure that we are doing some form of backup. That's going to be real critical.
Quick question. If we've been doing a practice version with a lot of our data already in the practice version, will a lot of that shop information, will a lot of that transfer, or we'll still have to re-input all of that?
Fantastic question. So glad you brought that up, Harvey. This was an all or nothing deal. When we installed your practice version, you guys were going to go in and play around with it, and it had to be all or nothing. So when we convert your data to go live, it wipes everything out, and it's a fresh copy of your converted data. So let's do a quick recap. So what's going to be on there? Open ROs. And this will be whatever is open on your service counter in MotorTraxx at the time of conversion. Open ROs. No parts invoices. Remember, those aren't going to convert. In fact, we want them deleted before the conversion. Nothing will be on your general ledger. The only thing on your general ledger are those 3 entries. You're going to have your 12,000 receivables, your 20,000 payables, and the system balancing account. So your beginning checking balances won't be in there. Your beginning cash in drawer, cash on hand, will not be in there. Let's run over that one real quick, guys. And again, for you, Randy, because I'm not going to be there, but we could always do this after the fact. One of the initial setups that you're going to do, click on Setup, Accounting, and Payroll, is your beginning GL balance. We'll just leave out today's date for fun, for undeposited funds. So that's actually a good review. Thanks for bringing this up, Harvey. Remember, we don't use petty cash. We do not use petty cash in MaxTracks like we do in MotorTraxx. This is what's in drawer. 11,000 is like what's in safe. And then we deposit it to our checking account. And notice the checking accounts aren't listed here, guys, because we don't do our beginning checking accounts from this function, beginning GL balance. We do beginning checking account balances from the bank reconciliation. And remember, guys, we have a training video on that, setting up your beginning checking balance. And it'll walk you through it. Short video, like 5 minutes, shows you how to put your beginning balance in MaxTracks for the bank reconciliation. So what we want you to do, guys, is at the end of the day, actually, this is another good one. And we probably should have this as a starred one, but you can do it later on. It's not real critical. But at the end of your day on December 30th in your case, Harvey, you're going to say, okay, I made my bank deposit. All that stuff is gone. Credit cards uploaded on their own in the background. How much cash do I have in my hot little hand right now? And some people leave like $150 in a cash drawer. So you would put in your undeposited funds account what's in your cash drawer, not here. The reason why, guys, this 10,000 account, it doesn't have any functions in MaxTracks that lets you move money in and out of it. It doesn't let you move money in and out of it as part of your daily workflow. You have to do a general journal entry on your general ledger to get money in and out of it, so we don't use it. So when I put a beginning amount in here, let's say $250. Let's say at the end of my day on December 30th to December 31st, I put $250 in here. So same thing, this should say 0. You'll enter in $250. So this amount here will immediately show up under banking, make bank deposit in this parentheses down here in the lower right. Do you guys see that? We all talk, you know, guys know I talk about this all the time, okay? Least favorite part of the program, but a necessary evil, and actually it's a really cool feature the way that they used it. It was just hard for me in the beginning as a MotorTraxx user to get my head wrapped around this. This cash to deposit in this parentheses at the end of every day after you do your bank deposit, your daily sales and cash flow report, and then your bank deposit, this is the amount in your drawer. Because theoretically speaking, cash in your drawer is cash available to deposit, right? I mean, theoretically, that's what it is. So this number here should always match what's in that 11,000 account. In fact, let's just deposit these two things really quick, this American Express and Visa, just to get them out of our way. Okay, so if I go back into banking, make bank deposit, and I have in my parentheses 180. You guys see the 180 down there, right? So now if I go immediately to my accounting chart of accounts and I looked at undeposited funds, see, 180. So this should always match. This will always match because it actually, that's where it gets the data from. So what you want to do is when you do your beginning balance for your 11,000 account, your very first line right here will be how much money in paper bills and coins you guys have in your hot little hands on the day of your data conversion. And this will be obviously at the end of the business day because you're not going to be doing any more ROs on the date that you go live with your data conversion. In your cases, it could be different for some other folks. Make sense there, guys? No. And that may be an entry you guys want to do on the day that you go live. We'll probably do that together, you and I, Harvey, but Randy, you'll be on your own for that one. Again, not a real critical one, but it's kind of handy. It's kind of handy. And that way when you do your very first daily sales and cash flow report for that day, that amount will be in here. You're going to manually enter that in for the first day, in this case, $180. And again, we're going to go over that together the first week after you guys are live, so don't even, worry about that kind of thing. Any other questions? That was actually a great roundabout way of getting to that question, Harvey.
I have a question. I was still looking at the setup paperwork.
Yeah.
And it's asking me about add-on charges.
Yes.
And I know I heard the term before, but I don't know what they really are or the application.
Okay, let's do a quick little reminder. That's under setups, repair orders and parts invoices. And you guys know this is the biggest part of our setup. This is a monolith of data we got to, features we got to toggle on or toggle off. Let's look at that. Setups, repair orders and parts invoices. On the left, add-on charges. Add-on charges are like hazardous materials fees. In my case, I have freight on here. Check out, this is a sticker fee that I have tied to a smog emissions labor. Now, these add-on charges here, these 3 sections say part, and these 3 down here say labor. So these are add-on charges that are added to the individual part on the RO or the individual labor on the RO. I have a lot of people that have, here's a good one. Usually, actually, I have one here for tire disposal. And it's got, click on the select button, and I can create my own tire disposal fee product code. If you have any questions on this one, Randy, this will be something very first thing Tuesday the 3rd. You call tech support, you get somebody on the horn, and you walk through this together. It's not the end of the world if you don't get them all set up. But I do want to remind you, if you change the title here, it may not affect the ROs that are already started. So we'll have to look into that.
Gotcha.
May or may not. And then this, once you select this here, it's just to activate it, guys, and make it taxed or not taxable. You know, in this case, most are non-taxable. But a sticker fee for smog is taxable. But, and where this will show up is in the actual RO. Let's look at this. Under my part, here are my add-on fees. Oh, it did change right away. Good, they probably changed that, updated that feature. So I changed it. Remember it said freight, now it says tire disposal right away. And same for labor. Click on a labor. Here are my add-on, 3 add-on fees. See, sticker fee.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Okay, so you can actually put these add-on charges in once you actually add something to the actual RO. But check this one out. I created this one as a practice. Let's look at this smog. Let's see if it's in here. I think it's this one. Was it this one? Do I have an add-on? No. Let's see if it's another one. Labor service one list, smog here. Let's check it out. Yeah. So look at, when on this one, it automatically has an $8.25 add-on charge under the sticker fee. I don't want to go into too much detail into this, but the reason why this says $16.50, guys, because it takes this amount times your labor, which is only half hour. That's why we had to do a little bit of jockeying in this. But you see, that actually was tied into the master labor service. It was already added, so every time you ever select this RO, or select this labor for this RO, add-on charge is already ready to rock and roll. So a lot of folks, let's do another one. Let's see, if I were to add, just for fun, I'll add more oil. Let's see if I have another oil. 10W30. This one? Oh, I don't have it. I was looking for one that I actually already have in the part record itself. Let's see if I've tied. See? Hazardous material automatically is tied to the labor. So every time, or the part, every time I select this part, it's automatically going to add 20 cents per, let's say, 6 quarts of oil. 20 cents per quart of oil to my RO automatically. That's how those add-on charges are used, Randy.
And you tie that in through your parts manager?
I personally do. I know it sounds like a ton of work, but I don't mind doing it ahead of time. I actually would go to my part search by description, type in oil filter, and I would go through each one of my oil filters, click on user charges, and throw a buck. See, I already have a buck in there. And I just throw $1 on every single one on the part record. That way, that's how I know my hazardous materials fees, disposal fees are tied in. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Good one. Good questions, guys. Okay. So I think we're good. Covered a great questions. Then I want to do clean out those open invoices first. Close your daily book. Do any end of year stuff if you have any end of month or end of year stuff. Do a backup. I love that. Do a backup that says this is a backup of what I converted when I went live. Print out any of those reports. Again, open ROs. Open parts invoices. And if you have anything on the parts counter, delete those parts invoices off the parts counter before the conversion. Print out your income and expense statement and your balance sheet in 2 copies of your trial balance. Okay? And then we're going to convert your data. And then after we convert your data, grab your setup checklist, run through the things with the stars, and remember for you guys, I would do the enter beginning general ledger balance for the inventory right away. And the way we do that is before we start putting anything on those open ROs that converted, remember, we're going to run report inventory valuation. Do the math in case you got some negatives, and everybody does, no big deal. Just take the, the net of the black minus the red, set up accounting and payroll, enter beginning general ledger balances, and that's where we put in our date of conversion, which is going to be the date, today's date, because you guys are going to do this right away, and then select 13,000. And this is where you put in your beginning inventory balance. And this should, in your case, guys, will say 0 up here. Everything else, I think, we'll be with you to step you through. As much as you guys want to do on your own, let's look at this checklist. What they're referencing here in the parentheses is in the user manual. There's a company information section under setup. Let's look at this. Employees and employee permissions. In the parentheses, it says, see add an employee under the payroll section. So let's take a quick peek at that. I'm clicking on help again, user manuals and training videos, just to get me out there quickly, to the user manual. And you guys should have a user manual on every desktop that has MaxxTracks. And remember, we could go under, setup. Go under setup. I know I desperately need to update this manual, be updated in January of 2012. Here's company information. Here's repair orders and parts invoice setup. Here's this workstation, printing and miscellaneous. So you guys can see we actually have this in here. We also have new users set up. Let me collapse you can collapse these down. Let me go to new user setup. Here's our sales tax rates. Just click on it. This tells you how to set up your sales tax rate, how to put in your fiscal year start date, how to do a beginning general ledger balance. Okay? So it's all in the manual, and it tells you how to do it, walks you through it. So if you like user manuals, it's a great way to reference this. And the other thing that we do have, get out of here, is under video training, just have a couple of these, but here at the top, system setup. Setting up your company actually covers company information, repair orders and parts invoices, and the workstation. Then we have a separate one for fiscal year, sales tax rates, a couple other things, setup stuff here. Okay. And most importantly, guys, I'm going back to my favorite thing in the world, is that we are going to remember the self-paced training curriculum, watch some videos, join some webinars. You guys have been really good about doing that. Randy, you've been outstanding. I should get a schedule of upcoming webinars for January up, probably at the end of this week. We are going to start over the 3-week, lesson 3 through 10, the 3-week webinar series, January 9th. And I've had many, many people join us, even after they're live, come in for a refresher. Maybe I need a refresher on running the daily sales or a refresher on setting up my general ledger. Definitely probably want to get a refresher of this. That would be probably January 18th, I guess. 18th or maybe the 27th. I'm not probably, actually no, it'll be the 25th, January 25th. So, if you hadn't had a chance to get all your general ledger set up, jump into the webinar and get some refreshers, and we can go back and put some more information in. What I do want to say about setting up your general ledger guide is it's a work in process. I've only had one customer ever, one MotorTraxx user ever, be able to take his trial balance from MotorTraxx and set it up in MaxxTracks the same day he went live, in every single solitary account matched to the penny. This is not reality. well, let's go for number 2. But the thing is that, don't forget, it's hard to make a lot of general ledger adjustments and cleanups in MotorTraxx, where it's a piece of cake in MaxxTracks. So if we don't get it all dialed in on day 1 with you guys from MotorTraxx, from a trial balance in MotorTraxx, maybe we will. Maybe you guys will be, shop number 2. It gives us a little flexibility to go in and make some corrections because it's not tied to anything yet. Very nice, very easy to do. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the webinar today. Again, I'll post it on the website under archive webinars, especially if you want to reference setting up that beginning part valuation, the 13,000 account. Unless you guys have any other questions. Okay. Well, appreciate you guys participating, and like I said, we'll look forward to working with you together once you do go live. So we'll put this up, make it available for you.